My name is Chili, 29 years old, living alone in a small apartment on the outskirts of the city. I worked as a content writer for an advertising firm. Quiet, routine, uneventful. Until recently, when something as ordinary as my fridge became the most terrifying part of my life. I moved into this apartment 3 months ago. It wasn't much. A single bedroom, cracked white walls, and an old higher refrigerator that came with the place. It rattled every now and then, but it worked. At least, it used to. The first time it happened, it was subtle. I came home late from work, opened the fridge to grab a bottle of water and froze. Inside, neatly arranged, were all my favorite foods. Things I hadn't bought: a box of chocolate mousse, a bowl of rajma chawal the way my mom used to make it, even a slice of my favorite pineapple cake. It was almost touching, until I noticed the smell. It wasn't the smell of food. It was the sweet, wet, metallic odor of decay. Every dish looked perfect, but when I touched the mousse, the cream collapsed under my fingers. Black, moldy, oozing something like tar. I threw everything out that night, but the next morning, and the fridge was full again. I called the landlord. He laughed. "Maybe you're sleepwalking, madam. Happens sometimes." I knew I wasn't. I kept a lock on the fridge that night. Still, when I woke up, the lock was broken, and inside were the same foods, only worse. The rajma had turned green, and the cake looked like it had been there for years, crawling with tiny white worms. That smell stayed in the air long after I shut the door. I started avoiding the kitchen. I ordered takeout, ate on the balcony, and told myself I'd call a technician to replace it. But every night around 3:10 a.m., the fridge would make a strange sound. A low gurgling hum like something alive was breathing inside. One night I couldn't take it anymore. I turned on all the lights and walked to the kitchen. The fridge door was slightly open, fog spilling out like cold breath. When I pushed it shut, I heard a whisper right behind my ear. "Don't waste food." I froze. No one was there. But when I turned back toward the fridge, there was a handprint on the inside of the door, a dark, greasy stain like someone had pressed their palm from within. The next morning, I told my colleague, Rishab, everything. He joked that it sounded like my fridge had a ghost chef. But when he offered to stop by after work to check, I agreed. That evening, Rishab came over. We laughed about it until he opened the fridge. He stopped talking. Inside was a single tiffin box with a name scratched on the lid. His name. He opened it and immediately dropped it. Inside was half-eaten food and something small, white, and sharp. A human tooth. He ran out of my flat that night and never came back. The following days were worse. The fridge began turning itself on and off. Sometimes the temperature display blinked random numbers, sometimes words. It once read, "Eat what you left." Then one night the electricity went out, but the fridge was still running. The hum turned deeper, rhythmic, almost like breathing. I shone my phone's flashlight toward it, and that's when I saw them. Dozens of containers, stacked neatly, each labeled with my name. Chili 1, Chili 2, Chili 3. Every single one filled with something rotten, something fleshy, something that looked human. And at the back of the fridge, half buried in frost, was a photograph. It was me, standing in my old house, smiling beside my mother. Only, my mother had died 5 years ago. And in the photo, she was holding the same tiffin box I'd just seen. The next morning I called a priest. He refused to enter the apartment. He said the energy inside was hunger, not haunting. That night I decided to unplug the fridge for good. But when I pulled the plug, the fridge door swung open by itself. And there she was. A faint, translucent shape, my mother, smiling faintly, holding a plate of rotten rajma chawal. "You never finished your food," she whispered. "You let me die hungry." I screamed and ran. The next thing I remember, the neighbors found me unconscious in the hallway. When I came to, the fridge was gone. The landlord swore he'd never seen one in that apartment to begin with. The space where it stood was now empty, but the smell still lingers. That sharp metallic sweetness of something spoiled. Now every time I pass by a fridge, any fridge, I hear that same whisper in the hum of the compressor. Don't waste food. If you like this story, please like, share, and subscribe. And remember, some things in your kitchen aren't as lifeless as they look.